Hello and welcome to the Armory. Today, I'm going to talk about one of the most advanced and powerful weapons in the world, the Storm Shadow cruise missile. This is a long-range, air-launched missile that can fly at low altitudes and evade enemy defenses. It can hit targets up to 250 kilometers away with high accuracy and devastating power. It can also penetrate hardened structures like bunkers and hangars, making it ideal for destroying strategic and high-value targets. The Storm Shadow missile was developed by France and the UK in the 1990s, and has been used in several conflicts in the Middle East, such as Iraq, Libya, and Syria. Recently, it has been supplied to Ukraine, which has used it to strike Russian targets in the war-torn regions of eastern and southern Ukraine. In this video, I'm going to give you a brief overview of the Storm Shadow missile, its history, its specs, its deployment in Ukraine, and its usage in the war. I will also explain why this missile is so important for Ukraine's defense and deterrence against Russia, and what are the implications for the future of the conflict and the role of the UK and other allies. The Storm Shadow missile was born out of a joint project between France and the UK, called the Conventionally Armed Standoff Missile, CASM, which started in 1994. The aim was to create a long-range, stealthy, precision-guided cruise missile that could be launched from various aircraft platforms, and strike high-value targets with minimal collateral damage. The Storm Shadow design was based on an earlier French missile, called the Apache, which was developed in the 1980s as an anti-runway weapon. However, unlike the Apache, which carried cluster munitions, the Storm Shadow carried a unitary warhead that could penetrate hardened structures like bunkers and hangars. The Storm Shadow also had a longer range, a more sophisticated guidance system, and a low observable shape that reduced its radar signature. The Storm Shadow project faced several technical and political challenges along the way. For example, the missile had to be compatible with different aircraft types, such as the Tornado, the Mirage 2000 and the Rafale. It also had to meet strict safety and reliability standards, as well as environmental and legal regulations. Moreover, the project had to overcome budget constraints, delays and disagreements between the two partner countries over various aspects of the missile's development and production. Despite these difficulties, the Storm Shadow project was completed in 2001, after 7 years of development and testing. The missile entered service with the Royal Air Force, RAF, and the French Air Force, FAF, in 2003, just in time for the invasion of Iraq. The Storm Shadow was used for the first time in combat by RAF Tornado jets on March 21, 2003, targeting Iraqi command and control facilities near Baghdad. The FAF followed suit on March 23, launching Scalp-EG missiles from Mirage 2000 DS against Iraqi air defense sites near Basra. Since then, the Storm Shadow has been used in several other conflicts in the Middle East, such as Libya in 2011, Syria in 2018, and Yemen in 2023. The missile has proven to be highly effective and accurate in hitting its targets, while minimizing civilian casualties and collateral damage. However, it has also faced some criticism and controversy over its legality, morality, and cost-effectiveness. Some critics have argued that the missile violates international law by targeting non-military infrastructure or personnel, or by causing disproportionate harm to civilians or the environment. Others have questioned whether the missile is worth its high price tag of about $1 million per unit, or whether it could be replaced by cheaper or more sustainable alternatives. The most recent chapter in the Storm Shadow's history is its supply to Ukraine in 2023, amid Russia's invasion of its neighbor. The UK was the first country to announce that it would provide Ukraine with these missiles in May 2023, after months of negotiations and consultations with other allies. The UK said that these missiles would allow Ukraine to push back Russian forces based on Ukrainian sovereign territory, and that they would only be used within Ukrainian borders. However, Russia strongly condemned this decision as a provocation and a violation of international law, warning that it would have serious consequences for regional stability and security. The Storm Shadow missile is a low-observable, long-range, air-launched cruise missile that can fly at low altitudes and evade enemy defenses. It can hit targets up to 250 kilometers away with high accuracy and devastating power. It can also penetrate hardened structures like bunkers and hangars, making it ideal for destroying strategic and high-value targets. The missile has a length of 5.1 meters, a wingspan of 3 meters, and a body diameter of 0.48 meters. It weighs 1,300 kilograms and has a range of more than 250 kilometers. The missile is propelled by a Turbomeca Microturbo TRI-60-30 turbojet engine that produces 5.4 kilonewtons of thrust. The missile can fly at a speed of Mach 0.8, or about 980 kilometers per hour. The missile carries a 450-kilogram Broach warhead, which stands for Bomb Royal Ordnance Augmented Charge. This is a two-stage warhead that consists of an initial shaped charge to create an entry hole in the target, followed by a larger main charge to cause maximum damage inside the target. The warhead is designed to penetrate deep into hard rock targets and cause minimal collateral damage. The missile has a sophisticated guidance system that combines different technologies to ensure high accuracy and reliability. The missile uses GPS, INS, IIR, and TERPROM systems to navigate its way to the target. GPS stands for Global Positioning System, which uses satellites to determine the missile's position and velocity. INS stands for Inertial Navigation System, which uses gyroscopes and accelerometers to measure the missile's orientation and movement. IIR stands for Imaging Infrared, which uses a camera to compare the target's image with a preloaded reference image stored in the missile's memory. TERPROM stands for Terrain Profile Matching, which uses a radar altimeter to compare the terrain profile along the missile's flight path, with a preloaded digital map stored in the missile's memory. These systems work together to guide the missile to its target with an accuracy of less than 10 meters. The missile can be launched from a number of different aircraft platforms, such as the Tornado, the Mirage 2000, the Rafale, the Typhoon, the Gripen, and the Su-24. The missile is carried under the fuselage or wing of the aircraft, and is released at a safe distance from the target area. The missile then unfolds its wings and tail fins, ignites its engine, and flies towards its target at low altitude, following a pre-programmed flight path that avoids detection by enemy radars and air defenses. The missile then reaches its target and detonates its warhead, destroying it with maximum effect. The UK has been one of the main supporters of Ukraine since the start of Russia's invasion in November 2022. The UK has provided Ukraine with diplomatic backing, economic aid, and military equipment, including drones, anti-tank missiles, rocket launchers, and radar systems. The UK has also deployed hundreds of troops and several warships to the region, as part of a NATO-led mission to deter further Russian aggression. However, the UK also recognized that Ukraine needed more advanced and longer-range weapons to counter Russia's overwhelming military superiority, and to defend its sovereignty and territorial integrity. That's why the UK decided to supply Ukraine with the Storm Shadow missiles, which are among the most potent weapons in the UK's arsenal. The UK said that these missiles would allow Ukraine to push back Russian forces based on Ukrainian sovereign territory, and that they would only be used within Ukrainian borders. The UK announced its intention to provide Ukraine with these missiles in May 2023, after months of negotiations and consultations with other allies. The UK said that it would transfer some of its own stockpile of Storm Shadow missiles to Ukraine, as well as provide training and technical support for their use. The UK also said that it would coordinate with other countries, such as France and Italy, which also have these missiles, to ensure a consistent and coherent approach. The delivery and integration of the Storm Shadow missiles into Ukraine's Air Force was completed in June 2023, in a secret operation that involved RAF transport planes and Ukrainian Su-24 jets. The UK said that it had received assurances from the Ukrainian government that these missiles would be used responsibly and proportionately, in accordance with international law and human rights standards. The UK also said that it would monitor the use of these missiles closely, and that it would suspend or revoke the transfer if there were any violations or abuses. The supply of the Storm Shadow missiles to Ukraine was welcomed by many countries, such as the US, Canada, Germany, Poland and Turkey, which also support Ukraine's sovereignty and security. These countries praised the UK for its leadership and solidarity with Ukraine, and said that they would continue to provide assistance and cooperation to Kiev in its fight against Russian aggression. However, the supply of the Storm Shadow missiles to Ukraine was strongly condemned by Russia, which saw it as a provocation and a violation of international law. Russia said that this move would escalate the conflict and endanger regional stability and security. Russia also warned that it would have serious consequences for the UK-Russia relations, and that it would not hesitate to take countermeasures to protect its interests and allies. The first use of the Storm Shadow missile by Ukraine was reported on May 12, 2023, when Ukraine launched 2 missiles from Su-24 jets at 2 industrial sites in the Russian-held city of Luhansk in eastern Ukraine. The sites were allegedly used by Russia as command and control facilities and supply depots. The missiles hit their targets with precision and caused significant damage and casualties. Russia accuses Ukraine of violating international law and escalating the conflict, while Ukraine said that it was acting in self-defense and targeting legitimate military objectives. The second use of the Storm Shadow missile by Ukraine was reported on May 18, 2023, when Ukraine launched 4 missiles from Su-24 jets at a Russian airbase near Berdyansk in southern Ukraine. The airbase was allegedly used by Russia to launch airstrikes and reconnaissance missions against Ukrainian positions and civilians. The missiles hit their targets with accuracy and destroyed several aircraft, hangars, and fuel tanks. Russia denounced the attack as a provocation and a war crime, while Ukraine said that it was responding to Russian aggression and protecting its sovereignty and security. The third use of the Storm Shadow missile by Ukraine was reported on May 25, 2023, when Ukraine launched 6 missiles from Su-24 jets at a Russian naval base near Zaporizhzhia in southeastern Ukraine. The naval base was allegedly used by Russia to deploy warships and submarines that threatened Ukrainian ports and coastlines. The missiles hit their targets with accuracy and damaged several vessels, docks and warehouses. Russia condemned the attack as an act of terrorism and a violation of international law, while Ukraine said that it was defending its territorial integrity and maritime interests. These examples show how Ukraine has used the Storm Shadow missiles to strike Russian targets deep inside the occupied territories of eastern and southern Ukraine. These attacks have given Ukraine a new edge in its counteroffensive against Russia, as they can hit Russian troops and equipment far behind the front lines. These attacks have also demonstrated Ukraine's resolve and capability to defend itself against Russian invasion, and have sent a clear message to Russia that it cannot act with impunity in Ukrainian sovereign territory.